What's up everyone? If this is your first time watching one of my videos, my name is Wesley Hong. Back in 2017, I did a career change into UX design through a UX bootcamp, and I've been a UX designer for 5 years now. So I'm gonna try something new on this channel. I'm gonna do a reaction and response video to an article that I found about UX design bootcamps. Now, the title of this article is "The UX Bootcamp Model is Broken." Now, I found this article on a UX design Facebook group that I follow, and I thought it would be a very interesting article for me to read, react, and respond to, especially as someone who did a UX bootcamp in the past before. Just to provide a little bit more context, as I mentioned before, I did a UX bootcamp back in 2017. It was a 6-month program where the first 3 months I did it all online, and then the last 3 months I actually had to move out to Chicago to complete the in-person phase of the program. It's the year 2022, so it's been a good 5 years since I was in a bootcamp, and I know a lot has changed within the bootcamp model, especially from my conversation with UX beginners and me just trying to keep up with the career. So I think I might provide a unique enough perspective to share my thoughts on this article. So I'm gonna read through this article for the first time together and go through all the different talking points and give my thoughts on it. If you wanna read the article yourself on your own time, the link to the article will be in the descriptions below. So let's do this. That's right, step right up, ladies and gents. We make it super easy for you. Bootcamps have lending partners such as Climb Credit and accept every form of payment under the sun: checks, monthly payment plans, deferred tuition plan, and low-cost loan option. Okay, for me, I think this is great because everyone has different financial status and situation, so it helps everyone get the education that they want to pursue. When I did my bootcamp, I actually did take out a private loan, which I needed to start paying that off about 3 to 4 months after my bootcamp ended. However, although it makes it easy for you to pay for these programs through financial assistance, you have to be very smart about which bootcamp you select, and you gotta read the fine print and the terms and condition. And that to me is just common sense and being very smart with your money. When you're looking at all these different bootcamps and seeing how much it costs, ask yourself why a specific bootcamp is more expensive than the other one. Because if a certain bootcamp offers you something more valuable that other bootcamps does not offer, it might be worth paying a little more. No one should have any delusions about the fact that all these bootcamps are in it for the money. Well, no shit. You essentially could say the same thing about colleges too, but at the end of the day, it is a business. They do an exceptional job of overpromising. So for this part, I can understand this, especially when some of these bootcamps use statistics like 90% of our graduates have gotten a job. But the question is, over how long of a time period? Yeah, a cohort and class of 15 students all got a job, but maybe it took the first student 6 months to get their first job, and it took the last student a year or even longer. Another statistic I hear is our graduates work at Spotify, PayPal, fan companies, Google, Facebook, Netflix. But for every 100 graduates, maybe only 5 to 10 of them actually work with these big notable companies. So yeah, I guess you could say they're overpromising and maybe withholding specific parts of their statistics in order to make it sound better. Okay, that's all I'll talk about from the intro paragraph. Let's actually move on to the 5 problems of UX bootcamps that's mentioned here. Number 1, a certificate of completion does not amount to anything much in the industry. To the first point, I think this is pretty obvious. That certificate of completion that you may receive from a bootcamp, it's a piece of paper that really doesn't mean anything. If there is a certificate of completion that actually matters, it's actually a college degree, specifically HCI, Human Computer Interaction, which is the major chosen for UX design. But obviously it takes a huge investment of your time and money going back to college. Now, your portfolio and your case study, that's probably the actual certificate of completion that's supposed to show your level of experience and what you learned from your bootcamp. Everyone know that UX bootcamps are only meant to provide introductory courses. As one bootcamp truthfully exclaims, it's to jumpstart your career in UX design. It's well known that they barely manage to teach the skills and know-how required to be a working UXer. As of 2022, I agree that the majority of all bootcamps are just introductory courses. I feel like bootcamps do not necessarily focus on the specific skills to help you transition into UX design and help you show that you know what you're doing essentially. So you know what skills are not taught at bootcamps and it's really hard to teach? It's the soft skills. Well, you may be asking yourself, which specific soft skills am I referring to? I'm gonna talk mainly about communication, storytelling, and facilitation. These skills are so important when you're engaging with stakeholders, when you're running collaborative work sessions that may involve non-designers, and when you're presenting your designs. And these are the things that bootcamps have a really hard time teaching, because some of these soft skills, you can't really learn them by reading a textbook or watching a YouTube video. It's something that you can only learn by putting yourself in the actual situation and just doing it. For example, when you're in a room with 5 stakeholders, your PM, several engineers, do you know how to facilitate a discovery and framing session and facilitating a collaborative experience for everyone? Or when you have a stakeholder who doesn't believe in the problem and solution that you're working towards, how would you convince them otherwise and get to the best middle ground? And I find it hard that these bootcamps are teaching you these set of skills, especially when you're just working on mock projects where it's just a fake client, you don't have an actual stakeholder you're communicating to, where it gives you the opportunity to present your design and defend it. And my bootcamp experience is so different from the majority of people today, because my bootcamp actually gave us real client projects to work on, where we had the chance to do a client kickoff meeting. We met with them once a week to show them our work. We even got to present to them our research, design, testings to the client, and got to have that back and forth conversations with them that you probably would see normally in the real life setting, which is an example of business versus users. In reality, no seasoned professional is prepared to risk their job for hiring someone who is simply not able to deliver. I mean, this is a fair point, right? Because if I happen to refer a UX beginner to a company that I work for and they can't perform or deliver as a UX designer, it honestly just makes me look bad. As a hiring manager, let's just assume that there are 500 bootcamp graduates that finish their program every month. So that person has to sift through all 500 people and figure out who is the best out of all of them and who is capable of taking ownership of their work and being a real UX designer. And that honestly does not sound like a lot of fun. The lack of proper student screening is part of the problem. As one UX mentor at Springboard puts it, students are not screened properly before getting accepted into the program. So I recently talked to a UX bootcamp graduate and I asked her how many people were in your class/cohort. She told me she had at least 300 people sign up initially. When I heard that, I was shocked because my bootcamp had a limit of 20 to 30 people max for each cohort. The bootcamp I went to, they made sure to have a lengthy discussion about the reasons for signing up for the program, talking through realistic expectations, and made sure that this program was really something that they really wanted to do. So not only was my bootcamp being selective during the sign-up process, they knew they could only give a full immersive experience to a certain number of people. Any higher of a number, the quality of the program would probably go down. There wouldn't be enough instructors that could give their immediate attention and support, and there wouldn't be enough real clients for every bootcamp students to work on as well. So how does a bootcamp that has 300 people per class really help each student outside of just the lectures? I can only imagine that bootcamps today, they don't really care about your goals and your motivation, your previous experience. They honestly probably just want your money and that's it. All right, let's move on to number 2. Mentor quality has dropped. These days, the threshold for being accepted as a mentor is 2 to 3 years of professional experience, if that. Okay, from my perspective as a UX bootcamp student, do you want a mentor who's been in the industry for 5 to 7 years, or do you want someone who's only been in it for 2 to 3? Now, I'm not saying that a 2 to 3 year UX designer, they're not capable of being good mentors, but I think with the designers of 5+ years, the assumption for me is that you're at least a senior UX designer, which gives you the opportunity to mentor less experienced designers actually at work. So if that's the case, it means you already have some level of mentorship experience, which could translate really well into bootcamps. But also, if these bootcamps really want to bring in high quality experienced UX designers, they gotta pay them well, which I don't really know the pay statistics behind that right now, but I'm going to assume that it's a pretty low pay. Also, the question I have is, are these bootcamps doing anything to provide some level of training for these mentors so that way there is some level of standard across all mentors? I assume that if the mentor reviews are pretty mixed, then there really isn't any standard and you getting a good mentor is all a gamble. All right, number 3, UX bootcamps delude students into thinking that they're going to walk into a job shortly after graduation. Okay, so I did my bootcamp back in 2017 and we had 15 people total in my cohort. Once we all finished, it took the first person from my cohort to get a job literally days after graduating because of her mentor and connection. It took me about 3 months, and I believe the last person, it took them about a year to get a full-time job. I'm sharing this with you guys because even back then, it was a challenge looking for an entry-level UX position, but I know now it's even 10 times harder. Truth be told, most graduate portfolios harm students because they're teeming with UX bootcamp case studies that don't demonstrate the ability to solve real-world UX challenges. Hiring managers and design managers are not impressed by UX deliverables piled into a jumble of case studies. I think other experienced UX designers will agree with me, but when it comes to a lot of these case studies that are made by UX bootcamp students, the case studies feel very cookie cutter and very bootcampy, just like this article mentions. I'd agree that most of the case studies that I do see from bootcamp graduates, I just see people dumping all of their deliverables and images and not providing any actual explanations for how they got to that point in their work. And if you know UX design, you should know better than that because you know you should be explaining the who, what, where, and why in details. So that way the readers or the viewers, they can really follow along on your case study journey, and it shows that you also have great storytelling skills as well. At the end of the day, the hiring people, they're going to look at your portfolio over any certificate of completion. So your portfolio, it has to be the best it can be. That's why you need to make sure you get a lot of critique and feedback from experienced UX designers. So in that case, please be prepared to be humbled, be open to constructive criticism, and be prepared to make changes. All right, number 4, the quality of education is seriously questionable. Students are on their own. Several online bootcamps just have students read freely available articles and watch videos in a self-paced, self-managed environment. I hear it's pretty true when it comes to them being on their own. Outside of the class lecture, the office hours, and then the weekly mentor calls that they may have, I hear there really isn't any hands-on learning experience or assistance provided from the bootcamp, which I think is really disappointing. And I even heard some bootcamps, they're all just recorded class lectures, so you don't even get to ask questions in real time. Students typically receive zero training in soft skills, presentation skills, or team collaboration skills, prerequisites for competence in the real world. Oh my God, this is exactly what I was saying before. The skills that matter the most, preach. I'm not gonna go deep into this again, but soft skills is what really matters. The hard skills, they don't really care about it as much as you guys think it does. Because it's easy, most bootcamps tend to focus on UX deliverables, personas, wireframes, user flow, sitemaps, prototypes, not the science and craft behind great UX. Like I said before, I've seen case studies where it's just a UX deliverable dump without any explanation or storytelling. And I repeat, you need to show how you created these deliverables and show how your UX process got you there. All right, I'm gonna skip number 5 and go to the next section where the author talks about alternative solutions and options for you guys. So let's take a look at that. All right, first, ditch the expensive UX bootcamps. A good option for fledgling UX designers is to enroll in a Google's low-cost intro course to UX. I think this is a good idea, especially if you don't want to make a full commitment into UX design. If you're still unsure if this is the right career fit for you and you want to educate yourself a little bit more before making a bigger commitment, I agree with this solution. Now, the second solution is mentorship. Now, from the UX beginners that I've gotten to talk to, the ones who have been the most successful were the ones who had a UX mentor. And from those people that I talked to, it feels like more than 75% of them, they don't even have a UX mentor that they keep in frequent contact with in order to get knowledge, advice, and encouragement from someone who's already in the career. And that kind of surprises me how many people want to ride this journey solo. Maybe you think you could do this alone, or maybe you don't think you need help. Maybe you're just scared to ask others for help, but I think it's something people need to do more, especially when this career is so hard to get into right now. And mentorship could lead to other things, whether it's a direct referral or them connecting you with another network. And this is where I'll do a shameless plug. I do mentorship as well on SuperPeer. I'll do coffee chats, critique sessions, and even whiteboard challenge preparation. So the link to my SuperPeer is in the description below. Let me know if you're interested and let's talk. And that's it, you guys. We finished the article. So to summarize my thoughts, I agree with the majority of all the talking points from this article and this author. I definitely think that the bootcamp model has been broken for a while now, and that's why I have a hard time suggesting specific bootcamps these days, sadly. Just like this article was saying, my viewpoint is that you can't only do a bootcamp and successfully transition into becoming a UX designer today. And there's other things that you have to consider and invest into that may require more time and more money. So I hope that this article and my perspective helped shed some light into the career today. And I also hope that it helps set the right expectation for you guys, especially if you're considering this career and especially if you're considering a UX bootcamp. Thank you guys again for watching. I had a lot of fun doing this new format of a video, and hopefully I'll try to do more of this again. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.